To bring back memories of certain times, of what was happening, what the trends were, what we were doing, and so nostalgia and a celebration at the same time.
We're trying to include memorable pieces from our competitive years that people will remember, like Mike and Mabel and Barnum, and of course there might be Bolero.
Could be.
Local skating legends Jane Torvill and Christopher Dean have shared some news when it comes to their farewell tour next year. Of course, Torvill and Dean, we know and follow them so well. They were originally planning on the UK leg, which with dates here in Nottingham, firmly wedged in the middle, their tour, and then they were going to go off to Australia. Well, it's now been announced that their last ever performance together will actually take place right here in Nottingham, which I think is only right, isn't it? It's their birthplace and the city where they formed their incredible partnership and skated together for the very first time 50 years ago. So our reporter, Jake Garner, has been to the National Ice Arena this morning to have a bit of a chat.
Yes, thanks very much, Laurie. I've just tootled up the road, actually, just to the National Ice Centre, where 50 years ago, pretty much round about here, near the old Nottingham Ice Stadium, two people skated for the very first time and formed a partnership that would make history, not just here in Nottingham, but all over the world. And now, Jane Torvill and Christopher Dean have announced that their last dance ever together will be right here in Nottingham, where the journey started 50 years ago, and I'm delighted to join them. Ice side, I think that's probably the best way to put it. They've been practicing for the new tour and they've taken a break to have a chat with me. Good to meet you both, first of all. Christopher, we'll start with you. First of all, how's practice going?
It has its ups and downs, but generally going okay.
Excellent. Glad to see it. I mean, it was lovely to watch from the side, I have to say. So, you're calling it a day after 50 years. How tough a decision was that?
It wasn't a tough decision. I think we were both ready for it. 50 years is a long time to be skating on the ice, and I think it's a great number. 50, round number, for us to be able to do that, and whilst our bodies can still do it and whilst our mental state can still do it, that we wanted to have one last go around and just say thank you to everybody, really, and make it our last dance.
Yeah, and the last dance is the name of the tour. It's a fitting title, isn't it, Jane?
Yes, definitely. But the last dance within the show, we want to sort of tell the story about careers and be nostalgic about some of the old routines that we did years ago that won us medals in the World Championships, and not least, in the Olympics, that routine that people might remember.
I mean, I'm guessing the one you're referring to is the one from 40 years ago in Sarajevo?
Absolutely, yes.
And so I'm guessing this is going to be sort of almost an autobiographic tour of basically your story told on the ice.
Yes, it is. We want people to come along with us and enjoy it, and they might remember where they were during those times as well and celebrate with us. But we also have a strong cast of professional skaters that are going to join us on the ice, and they bring something really special too.
Yeah, we want to communicate, we want to talk to the audience and tell them some of the stories about some of the routines and what we were feeling and how we were as teenagers to 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds up until now. So it really is a journey.
And it must be great fun to think back to those days and sort of relive them again on the ice.
Yeah, we've done lots of memory searching, haven't we? Some of it's still there, some of it's a bit flaky. But the great thing is YouTube and papers and everything jog your memory, and then we sort of want to bring that back together and really sort of package it in an evening of us, of Torvill and Dean on the ice, and a celebration.
Yeah. And there's been obviously so much that's happened over the last 50 years or so. Trends have changed, fashion's changed, and everything. How have you sort of maintained that within your performances and within everything that you do over the last 5 decades?
Practice. Lots of practice on the ice. We've been on the ice a lot. I mean, we're not going to say that we can compete in today's world. I mean, the competitive skating is so advanced now, but we can perform, and whilst we can still perform, that's really why we want to do one less skate.
And it's fitting, of course, Jane, that it's going to be here in Nottingham.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, we didn't know where we were going to finish the tour, but we said absolutely we have to. We have some earlier dates in Nottingham, but we want to come back so that our very last dance will be here.
We've added a couple of dates, the 11th and 12th of July, that it just actually does happen in this sort of hallowed ground here at Nottingham, the Nottingham Arena, where the old ice rink used to be.
Tell us about the memories that you had from those early days, from when you were skating, not in this building but in its predecessor.
Yeah, I mean,
Cold and damp.
when we started skating together, we would come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and open the place up. We were given a key, and it was dark and dank, and we'd switch the lights on and the rats and mice would scurry. Then we'd come on and do 2 or 3 hours, and then we'd make the ice. We'd have to Zamboni it ourselves, prepare it for the next people that were going to come in. So very nostalgic, very heady days at that time. I mean, when you think back what we used to do to be able to get ice, it was a lot of work.
And
but
we both had full-time jobs then as well, so we had to skate outside of those hours, didn't we?
Yeah, policeman, office person.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to sort of put those jobs to one side, well, effectively permanently from then on, to pursue a career in this.
Eventually we did. We had like 3 years of true amateurs where we were just working and skating, but then we realised in 1980 that we had a chance of maybe getting a medal in 81, but in 81 we won the World Championships, which really was the setup for the Olympics 4 years later. So we got to the top of the tree earlier than we anticipated, so we then had to stay there, and that was the hard work. But here we are today, still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been a surreal time, Jane, as well, sort of learning that you are capable of winning medals. What was that first one like when you won it in the early 80s?
It was a complete surprise. I mean, we thought we might have a chance at a bronze medal, but we found ourselves getting a gold medal. And I have to say, we were able to give up our jobs because of the Nottingham City Council giving us a grant. And it was Radio Nottingham who called us somewhere and said, "Congratulations, you've got the grant." And we hadn't heard from the council then, but Radio Nottingham let us know, and we were like, "Yay, is this real?"
We used to spend many hours at Radio Nottingham Record Library with the old vinyl library with all the racks of records, and then we would spend hours just going through all the music, trying to find the right piece of music. And it was there that we actually found Mac and Mabel, one of our first routines.
Unbelievable. So that was Torvill and Dean there chatting to Jake Garner. Before 1 o'clock, you can hear more from that chat. And if you want to be there for the last will be the venue for their last dance, which I think is so fitting and only right. Our reporter Jake Garner has been to the arena this morning and was having a chat with them and asked if they're planning on going out with a bit of a bang.
We hope so. There's lots of thought gone into it. We really want to make it a personal journey, telling our story, and so we want to share that with everybody. And you know, it's taken, by the time we open, it will have taken a year to put together the preparation and everything.
Yeah. What kind of things do you have to think about with a tour like this?
Lots of steps, actually.
Steps, casting, costumes.
Yeah, well, music, you know, just getting that right balance to have a great evening for everybody.
Yeah. And what can people expect when they come and see you next year?
I hope that they'll join in and celebrate with us, and expect to see lots of great skating, because as I said, we have professional skaters with us too. Lots of storytelling. Chris and I doing our little bits on the ice as well.
I mean, it sounds fantastic. It's going to be like a really special event, and effectively almost a goodbye to Torvill and Dean, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is it's our last dance. It's a goodbye to us skating on the ice. We'll always be best friends and maybe doing some other projects, but it just won't be skating.
And how's that relationship grown over the last 50 years? I'll ask you both of this, because 50 years is a long time, a lot of time working together. How's that grown over the last 5 decades?
I should just still get on my nerves. I'm joking,
come on.
Of course.
He still puts up with me. Yeah.
We both put up with each other. No, you know, we've grown up from kids, from 10 years old when we were in the rink together, through to mid-60s. And so we've gone through a lot of evolution in that time, and we've grown up, and we're just the best of friends.
What was really nice, when we arrived here, we saw you practicing for the tour, of course, and various other bits, and you still give it everything on the ice, which is great to see. Is it still the same now as it was then when you're practicing?
I think we still have the same passion for the skating. That's why we're lucky that we can still do it after all these years. And whilst we still can, we want to put on this last show before we retire.
It gets harder as you get older. Yeah.
Does it affect the old knees, does it?
Oh, knees, back, mental health, everything.
Oh, bless you, bless you. Well, it is, of course, a celebration of Torvill and Dean, and we've actually brought something along with us. I'll just ask producer Joe to bring it out with us. This is a Torvill and Dean programme from the Fire and Ice Tour in 1985. As you're looking at it here, there's a big 6 on the back, which, of course, is part of a huge part of what happened in Sarajevo 40 years ago. It's got a very, I was going to say there's 2 people on the front, and they I can't tell the difference between you 2 stood in front of me now and the 2 on the cover there. What's your first impressions of seeing that programme?
I go to Specsavers. No, it's
It's a great memory.
Floods of memories. This tour was a passion because it was our first tour, wasn't it?
Yes.
That we put together, and so that was a big deal for us. And putting that together like that has really given us the longevity over the years, I think, to still be doing what we're doing.
Yeah. And is there going to be aspects of that tour in this tour, do you think, Jane?
Yes, definitely. Looking through the pictures, yes, definitely.
There's some very good costumes in there. I've had a flick through the programme, and you both look absolutely fantastic. I'm guessing. No, are you sure? I mean, I'm sure you'd look great, Christopher.
It's gone.
I mean, it's a wonderful Indian number, I have to say. And so I've got to have a quick word as well about Dancing on Ice next year, coming to the Nottingham Arena. First of all, just tell us about the plans for that, and is it going to affect like the plans for the tour and preparation or anything?
Well, they're sort of going hand in hand. The professionals, or rather the celebrities, have been on the ice for like 2.5 months now, and they're all getting excited and nervous for the first show. So we're doing that one more time. We're excited to see what they're going to bring. We think it's a really good cast. They all seem to get on well, but also some of the standard is really good.
And you can bring sort of your coaching side of it as well, can't you, Jane? And both of you, really, can't you?
Well, as judges on Dancing on Ice, we try and sort of keep that a little bit separate. But we do get to choreograph them towards the end of the series, don't we?
Yeah.
Which is really lovely to see. And very finally, in terms of with it being the last dance, have you thought about the actual last one when you come back to Nottingham next summer? Any thoughts on what you might include for the very last one?
Well, the show will be set. I think what will be different will be the emotion of what we're feeling for the very last skate.
Yeah, and it's something you can't really plan for, can you? Because you're not going to know until it happens.
No, we won't know, and I suspect the audience might be emotional too, but we still have to go out there and give a performance.